Here.
Commissioner Bynum?
Here.
Commissioner Cox?
Here.
Commissioner Finney?
Here.
Commissioner Hamilton?
Here.
Commissioner Haynes?
Here.
Commissioner Leahy? Here. Commissioner Latour?
Here.
Commissioner May?
Here.
Commissioner Stebbins?
Here.
Commissioner Thomas?
Here.
You have 11 members present. You do have a quorum.
Good to see you, full body for the first year. And staff will let me know if I'm not doing procedure right. We do have now need to elect the chair and vice chair. So we'll start with chair first. Do I hear any nominations?
I'd like to nominate Craig Berry as chair.
Any seconds?
Second.
Any other nominations from the floor?
I move the nomination cease.
I'll
Okay.
second.
All right. We have one nomination, and that the nomination's closed. This always is a hand vote. So those in favor of the nominee that's been offered up, raise your hand. Okay. Now we're going to vote for the vice chair. So do I hear a motion for a nominee for vice chair, please?
I'd like to nominate Mr. Paul Latour.
We hear a second?
I second.
Okay, we have a motion to be seconded for Paul Latour. Any other nominations to entertain for the floor?
I'd like to move that nominations be closed.
Okay. Nominations closed. I don't think we need to take a vote on that. So we have one nominee, Paul Latour, for vice chair. Those vote in favor of Paul, raise your right hand or your hand. You can, sure. Those against? Okay, we have our officers for the year. Thank you. Staff, did this citizen fill out her card? I believe it was for item 14 on Rainwood. Okay. Okay, Donna, with that in mind, would you like to, oh, excuse me, we need a motion for the minutes.
Until I'm new, Mr. Chairman, I move for approval of the minutes.
Do I hear a second?
I second.
All right, we had a motion for approval of the minutes as they're written, and they've been seconded. Those approve, raise your hand. Those who do not. I just realized I was supposed to hit the gavel. You want me to do that now? All right. This meeting's adjourned. That's worth the price of admission, isn't it? Okay. Staff, would you'd like to read the consent agenda, please?
The Little Rock Planning Commission Subdivision Consent Agenda, January 11, 2018. Items for consent deferral. Item A, file number Z-6783-A, 15723 Canis Road, long form PCD, located at 15723 Canis Road. And item number B, file number Z-6900-B, House of the Bethesda, short form PDC, located at 6900 Pecan Avenue. The applicant has not responded to comments raised at the November 1st, 2017 Subdivision Committee meeting. Staff recommends deferral of this item to the February 22nd, 2018 public hearing, or these items to the February 22nd, 2018 public hearing. Item number 6, file number S-1805, Little Rock Tours Subdivision Site Plan Review, located at 3100 Interstate 30. The applicant submitted a request dated January 8th, 2018, requesting a deferral of this item to the February 22nd public hearing to allow the developers time to meet with the adjoining neighborhood. The deferral request will require a waiver of the Commission's bylaws with regard to the late deferral request. Staff is supportive of the deferral request. Item number 8, file number Z-6051-L, Shops at Chenal, long form PCD, located on the southeast corner of Arkansas Systems Drive and Chenal Parkway. The applicant submitted a request dated January 2nd, 2018, requesting deferral of this item to the February 22nd, 2018 public hearing. Staff is supportive of the deferral request. Item number 12, file number Z-9284, Sticks Bar and Grill, short form PCD, located at 3910 Asher Avenue. The applicant failed to provide staff with the requesting parking and circulation plan and the parking agreements with the adjoining property owners. Staff recommends deferral of this item to the February 22nd, 2018 public hearing. Item number 13, file number Z-9285, Brown, short form PDC, located at 9203 Hilero Springs Road. Based on conversations with the applicant concerning the proposed use of the property, staff recommends deferral of this item to the February 22nd, 2018 public hearing. Items for consent approval. Item number 1, file number S-47-N, Parkway Place Track D, replat, located at 14100 Parkside Drive. Staff recommends approval of the request, subject to compliance with the comments and conditions as outlined in paragraphs D, E, and F of the agenda staff report. Staff recommends approval of the variance request from the master street plan to allow Parkside Drive to be classified as a local street. Item number 2, file number S-224-E, Westover Hills Subdivision replat, lots 77 and 78R, located at 6701 and 6705 Hawthorne Streets. Staff recommends approval of the request, subject to compliance with the comments and conditions as outlined in paragraphs D, E, and F of the agenda staff report. Staff recommends approval of the variance request to allow reduced side yard setback for lot 78R. Item number 3, file number S-867-R, Chenal Valley Phase 33 preliminary plat, located east of Lamarche Drive and west of Rawling Road, accessed from Lamarche Drive and Chenal Heights Drive. The applicant has addressed staff's concerns related to site distance, has redesigned the street to intersect with Masons Boulevard, and has provided staff with a sketch grading and drainage plan. The applicant has also indicated traffic calming measures along Foulstone Drive. The request includes a variance from section 29-190 to exceed a 3-to-1 maximum slope requirements. The applicant proposes, based upon a geotechnical analysis and report, to fill to a 2-to-1 slope. Based on the information provided, staff is in full support of the applicant's request. Staff recommends approval of the request, subject to compliance with the comments and conditions as outlined in paragraphs D, E, and F of the agenda staff report. Staff recommends approval of the variance request to allow reduced front and side yard setbacks. Staff also recommends approval of the variance request from the city's land alteration ordinance to allow grading of future phases and the lots with the extension of the infrastructure, and the variance request from section 29-190. Item number 4, file number S-867-S, Chenal Valley Phase 32 preliminary plat, located on the east side of Lamarche Drive across from Lamarche Boulevard. The applicant submitted a sketch grading and drainage plan and a letter certifying the site distance for the new street at the intersection of Lamarche Drive. The request includes a variance from section 29-190 to exceed the 3-to-1 maximum slope requirements. The applicant proposes, based upon geotechnical analysis and report, to fill to 2-to-1 slopes. Based on the information provided, staff is in full support of the request. Staff recommends approval of the request, subject to compliance with comments and conditions as outlined in paragraphs D, E, and F of the agenda staff report. Staff recommends approval of the variance request to allow reduced front and side yard setbacks. Staff recommends approval of the variance request from the land alteration ordinance to allow grading of future phases in the lots with the extension of the infrastructure, and the variance request from section 29-190. Item number 5, file number S-1735-A, Canis Ridge Estates Subdivision preliminary plat, located at in the 14600 block of Canis Road. Staff recommends approval of the request, subject to compliance with the comments and conditions as outlined in paragraphs D, E, and F of the agenda staff report. Staff recommends approval of the following variance request: a variance from section 31-256 and 36-254 to allow front and rear building setbacks to be reduced to 20 feet. A variance from the master street plan to allow the development of 41 lots on a minor residential street. A variance from the land alteration ordinance to allow advanced grading of lots with the installation of the infrastructure and streets for the subdivision. A variance from section 31-232 to allow the creation of lots with a lot width less than the 60-foot typical required per the R2 single-family zoning district, and to allow 5-foot side yard setbacks on all lots within the subdivision. Item number 7, file number Z-8741-A, Ace General Contractors, short form PDC, located at 10819 Stagecoach Road. Staff recommends approval of the request to add medical office and general and professional office uses as allowable uses for the site as proposed by the applicant. Item number 9, file number Z-7950-B, Pollock Realty, revised short form PDO, located at 4016 Stannis Road. Staff recommends approval of the request, subject to compliance with the comments and conditions as outlined in paragraphs D, E, and F of the agenda staff report. Staff recommends approval of the variance request from Section 30-43 and 31-210 to allow the drive on West 40th Street nearer the property line than typically allowed. All gate locations will have to be approved by staff. Item number 10, file number Z-9078-A, Central Arkansas Urgent Care Short Form PID revocation, located in the 7400 block of Lindsay Road. Staff recommends the current PID zoning classification be revoked and the previously held I-2 Light Industrial Zoning District be restored. Item number 11, file number Z-8751-A, Mosaic Church of Little Rock, revised long form PCD, located at 6221 Colonel Glen Road. Staff recommends approval of the request, subject to compliance with the comments and conditions as outlined in paragraphs D, E, and F of the agenda staff report. Item number 15, file number Z-9287, AEDD short form PDC, located at 105 East Roosevelt Road. Staff recommends approval of the request, subject to compliance with the comments and conditions as outlined in paragraphs D, E, and F of the agenda staff report. And item number 16, file number Z-4451-F, 71 Hunters Green Circle, revised short form PDR, located at 71 Hunters Green Circle. Staff recommends approval of the request to allow the placement of the proposed sunroom within the rear yard setback. And that concludes the consent agenda.
Thank you, Donna. Do we have any motions, please? First, the first one will be bylaw waiver, yes.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we adopt a bylaw waiver for item 6S-1805 Little Rock Tours.
Okay, there's a motion for waiving the bylaws to defer that item. Do I hear a second, please?
I'll second.
Okay. We have a motion to defer that item to February 26th. That was item 6. Those in favor of the bylaw waiver, raise your hand. Those opposed? Okay, do I hear a motion for the consent agenda, please?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the consent agenda, including all staff comments and conditions therein.
Okay, thank you. We had a motion for the consent agenda to be approved. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Good. We have a motion and a second for the consent agenda. Those approve the consent agenda, raise your hand, please. Those opposed? Okay, if you were applicant and your item was read by Donna, that was on the consent agenda, that means you're excused. Your item was approved to move forward. While they're transitioning out, I want to remind the folks here for item C, which is the one on Bowman, there's, I don't think this will be an issue, but there's a limit to 20 minutes for each side. So those in opposition to that item, if you have a speaker you want to speak first or speak most, feel free to offer him or her up. I only have 3 cards for item C, so I think 20 minutes will be adequate for that. Public Works is going to give the presentation on that. Mr. Hood.
The Bowman Road at Executive Center Advanced Grading Variance Request is under file number LA0074A. It's located on the west side of Bowman Road at Executive Center Drive, the applicant's West Rock Partnership, and it's represented by White Daters and Associates. The site area is shown up on the screen right now. Subject property is about 5 acres in size, and the request is a variance to advance grade this area of this lot. This is part of a subdivision that dates to the 90s, and it was previously approved in that plat that platted a lot of the lots along Executive Center as office uses. Included in that plat a provision that someday Bowman Road would be widened, and this was anticipated many, many years ago, and it was duly approved by the Planning Commission. The zoning was put in place, and the plan was one day Bowman Road would be located further to the west. I'd like to point out as part of the introduction of this item that the applicant could actually, if they were proposing to construct their obligation, which is half of a full Bowman Road, a 5-lane Bowman Road, wouldn't need this variance. Based on the approvals they already have, they could relocate Bowman Road and claim more land into Lot 5, and I think another lot a little bit to the south. What's different about this and why it's before you today as a variance is that they're not proposing at this time to fulfill that obligation that was created many years ago to relocate Bowman Road. They would like to remove dirt, and they'd like to do it without doing Bowman Road at this time. It doesn't eliminate their obligation, but it certainly, that is the nature of the request. They would like to move the dirt. And that does create a variance because construction of the contemplated improvement is not imminent. At this time, staff is recommending approval of a revised grading plan. This has been deferred several times, and they're now proposing a revision to the plan that maintains some buffers on the site. To the west will be a 50-foot buffer. Excuse me, I've lost my place. The revised plan shows an 80-foot undisturbed buffer to be maintained adjacent to Bowman Road, except for construction access. And it also shows for an undisturbed buffer to be maintained against the subdivision to the west of 50 feet. And that's except for construction entrance to haul dirt. The plan up there kind of represents where the contours on the middle, in the middle of that kind of bow-shaped donut hole where dirt would be removed, and construction access would be to the north through the hatched area, and they would maintain, you know, some of the trees and some of the earthwork along Bowman and along that subdivision. Now, this is a temporary grading plan in that someday somebody is going to relocate Bowman Road, but this is how we'll be temporarily look in this interim. And that will also create some terraces on the interior of that excavation. And because those terraces are more than 10 feet tall between a 10-foot bench, they're proposed at 15 foot, that creates that second variance that you see in your write-up. With staff's recommendation for approval, we do have a number of conditions associated with it. That these buffers be maintained as required in the ordinance, that they restore the site with suitable vegetation such as hydroseeding, that a geotechnical analysis be done to make sure what they're doing is stable, won't fall in or cause any problems to anybody else in the area, and that it'll be stable for a long time afterward. There are other requests or other conditions associated with the issuance of that excavation permit that are outlined in the packet and in the ordinance. And with that, I think I've introduced that one well enough.
Yours is item number 14 on Rainwood.
Yes, but that's not what I have a question about. Bowman is close to me too.
If you wish to submit a card and speak to that, you're certainly welcome to as well.
I want to ask him a question if I'm just, is that Bowman across Markham that he's talking about?
This location is south of Markham. If you look on this map, to the north is the intersection of Markham, right where he's showing the cursor there. And the new Lowe's site is kind of the left. And as you're going south on Bowman, the first curve you come to after the stadium is where this site is located at. Napa Valley would be
further north.
some distance away.
Okay. All right. We have 3 cards that wish to speak against this application. I'll start. Oh, you want to speak as an applicant?
Just shortly.
Okay.
I won't use anywhere close to 20 minutes.
Okay.
Chairman Berry, and I'm glad you were reelected. I didn't have to cross through that and fill in a new chairman. So Chairman Berry, Commissioners, my name is Tim Daters. I'm a consultant engineer with White Daters and Associates. We're proposing to remove the material from about 1/2 or 1 1/4 acres of this approximately 5-acre site. We would retain buffers around the site. What we're hoping is, and our anticipation is that some of the work that would proceed, that will take place on Canis Road in the future closer to where Shackford is will require significant amounts of fill material, and then we're hoping that the material at this location can be excavated and then used for either construction of that fill or fill adjacent to the new city project, which is on Canis Road. I think I've been working on this area longer than Mike. In the mid-1980s, when we were working for Windrock, we began working on Sandpiper West Subdivision. And in conjunction with that, we did a study for the city of Little Rock on the alignment of Bowman Road from Colonel Glen all the way up to Markham. And the purpose of that study was to identify the sections of Bowman Road that could not be widened on the existing alignment, either where the vertical curves were too steep or the horizontal curves were too steep, like this section right here. We did identify several sections on Bowman. One was just north of 36th Street. That got addressed in the last few years with some of the development that was just north of 36th Street on Bowman. We also worked in the intersection, which is just south of this site on, I believe it's Cherry Side Drive and Shady. And in that particular location, Windrock, instead of improving all of Bowman Road, lowered that street intersection by about 8 feet and improved both sides of the road, the intersection, to improve sight distance. This project would be the beginning of another portion of that plan where we would be removing these series of reverse curves from the alignment of Bowman Road. And Walter, do you have that next one that comes up? And this just helps you get a general feel for the area, and you can go on to the blueprint that's right below that. Well, this is actually the preliminary plat that was approved in 1995, or excuse me, 1996, that shows that, and it's a little bit hard to tell after 20 years, it does show the realignment of Bowman Road, and Bowman Road actually moves westward about 150 feet from where it is right now. That gets rid of these two reverse curves on this minor arterial. Executive Center Drive would have to be relocated to tie into the new alignment. And Mike is correct that the owner of this property is obligated to do this work if they want to sell any of the properties on Bowman. We're not asking to have any relief from this preliminary plat or to have anything differently. We are asking that we use this opportunity of the various construction projects in the area that do need the material to take the material from this location, which will reduce the cost of moving Bowman Road at some point in time in the future. Removing this material will decrease the ultimate cost of moving Bowman Road at some point in time in the future. But to say that it's going to accelerate the development of it, this area of Bowman will probably not develop until Bowman is developed from Canis down to this location. But we've been working with the city to come up with a plan so that we could get their support, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that might come up or arise from the questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Daters. Okay. I have 3 cards now in regard to this application. I see someone there. Anyone want to fill out a card for this application on Bowman item C? If you got one for another one, be sure to bring it up when you get a chance. Don Jack.
Yeah, my name's Don Jack, and I live at 1920 South Bowman. And if you're looking at that chart right there, I'm kind of at the very southern tip of the wedge as it comes down to a point. This letter is written. What I wanted to do is read an email that was sent by Casey Shepard. She's also a fellow neighbor of mine, and she lives at the northern tip of that shape, and she wasn't able to come here today due to work, and but she's also an environmental engineer for an electric company, an electric utility company, but she had also worked with the Arkansas Department of Environmental Quality at one point in time. This email was, you might have already seen it actually, and you may not have because it was sent earlier today about 1 o'clock. You'd say what? Oh, okay. Okay. Anyways, it's a short email, and let me read it. It says, "Hello again. It's come to my attention that An updated site map was submitted on Tuesday, mere 2 days before the public hearing. As for the decision to be deferred until the next meeting, since it is estimated that the clearing and grading would take up to a year, yet there is no imminent construction plan. Therefore, there should not be a need to rush the decision without the nearby property owners' review and input. It appears the buffer issue is addressed on this update. However, I'm still very much concerned. This and previous site maps mentioned part of the project is in the 100-year floodplain. And grading this area and removing vegetation will lead to worsening issues with flooding that we already are burdened with in the future. Again, erosion will occur as vegetation would be hard to establish in the rocky shell soil part. Let's see, and then also no vegetated berm is being proposed to be installed. This proposal remains inadequate and should be denied. So that's all I got.
Okay. Bill Adcock.
Thank you. I also live in closer to the northern tip of where they're talking about now. I've lived at this location a little over 25 years, went through several different processes. Lot 5, which is to the east of where you're looking at now, we were told at that time that when they brought all the fill dirt in, they cleared that area, stripped it of its trees and vegetation, brought in fill dirt. And we were told at that time that the hillside, I mean, I understand it's in the city's master plan, okay? My concern is we were told that it would not be taken down until the road was built. And so, and I understand that they need dirt, but, you know, there's dirt up plenty. Why strip this hill and take dirt just for the sake of taking dirt and not building the road? The original plan was to, when that is removed, is a road would be constructed. And, you know, I have concerns about leaving buffers on one side. I mean, we've not had chance really to look at their proposal. It did not get out until just 2 days ago. We are concerned about runoff, flooding. In essence, you know, from what it really looks like right now, there's going to be a big drop, a valley, and then back up again. They're just creating sort of a crevice. And I just respectfully ask that you would deny this request until such time that the road is constructed.
Thank you for your comments. Lynette Jack.
Good afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity to respond to this applicant's variance request. We own the single-family residence at 1920 South Bowman Road, referenced in the application as being impacted by this variance request. I had planned this afternoon to address the plan first submitted on March 17, 2017, that had undergone only slight changes through the various deferments by the applicant. However, a drastically different proposal was sent to the city a little over 48 hours ago. While Vince Floriani and the city now support the current incarnation of the proposal, we would like to ask the Planning Commission to defer any decision on the request until the next scheduled meeting. We have not had the opportunity to review the city's response, nor the time to formulate a measured and reasoned response. Allowing time for us and the other property owners to review the no proposal, which was not posted on the Planning Commission's website as of this morning, would ensure that due process is followed and the decision made in haste is not regretted at leisure. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Applicant, would you like to get up and respond to anything?
No portion of this project is in the 100-year floodplain. I don't know where that came. That portions of this development may be, but no portion of this project is. When the work is complete, this area will be screened by the buffers, which Mike described, on all sides, with the exception of the construction entrance. The advantage of, or the reason to go through this operation right now and go through all the advanced grading and everything is to make this a material available for another project in the area and realize some of the economies of being able to move this material and use it on another project at the same time. The Canis Road project that the city's working on is not moving as fast as we thought it was, and we certainly have no objection to a deferral if that's what if everybody thinks that that's appropriate.
Thank you. Staff, do you want, Mr. Hood, you want to say anything?
To the extent that we don't object to a deferral, if that's what the wish is of the commission or the applicant, our position's unchanged. We think this plan is much improved over what was submitted before, and we still support it.
Okay. Other commissioners, comments, questions? Vice Chair.
I got a question for Mr. Daters. I just want to be sure I understood what you said. You said something to the effect of that you're gonna move the dirt, and if it's acceptable, which I assume you meant the Canis project, but if it's acceptable for that use.
Yeah, the Canis project is going to require somewhere around 60 to 80,000 yards of material, about 60 to 80,000 cubic yards of material. This material is located close by and would make great fill material.
I made the comment that if it's acceptable, when are you going to determine whether it is or isn't?
No, if this, in other words, the material is acceptable.
Okay.
But what will happen is the city will take bids on their project, and the contractors will look at the material that's here, and if they think that this is a good fit, then they'll remove this material.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Other commissioners?
Hey,
Commissioner
Tim, how
Lahad?
much cut is the maximum that you plan on having on this little hill?
I think that on either end, the cuts are about 6 or 8 feet. As we get in the very middle, the cuts are about 40 feet on one side and about 30 feet on the other side. Bowman Road's going to be significantly below the western property line of the site when it's ultimately relocated. We're cutting down to what will be the future grades of Bowman. Yes, sir.
Any other comments or questions before we take a motion on this? There being none. That's okay. Go ahead. Is there anything you want to add? I'm sorry. Come to the lectern, please.
I'm sorry. With respect to Mr. Daters, this is, all politics are local, according to Tip O'Neill. This is our front yard. And I just respectfully ask y'all to consider what this looks like. We have so few green spaces left in West Little Rock. The development has been outstripping demand. And just consider what this eyesore is going to do for the surrounding neighbors, and also the confusion for the drivers coming down Bowman. Right now, we've been there 18 years. I remember 2 accidents in 18 years. So please consider, I mean, y'all are our protectors of the individual property owners, so thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. Your motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move for the approval of this item, including all staff comments and conditions, item L0074A.
Okay, we have a motion for this item. Do I hear a second? Okay, there's been a motion to approve this item with all staff recommendations therein. It's been seconded. Those in favor of this application, raise your hand. How many did we count there? And those opposed? Okay.
We can appeal this.
Item passes at 7-4.
Just making sure. We
The
can appeal this to the city council, can't we?
No, you cannot. The appeal of land alteration variance request is to court.
Okay, injunction coming.
Yeah,
Thank you.
that's just. Thank you very much for y'all's patience. Appreciate that on that item. Our next item is item D.
Item number D, file number Z-4093-A, 8409 Gyre Springs Road, short form PCD, located at 8409 Gyre Springs Road. The request is a rezoning of the site from O3 General Office District and R2 Single Family Zoning District to PCD, Planned Commercial Development, to allow the placement of a food truck in the front of the business at this location and to use the existing structure for commercial or retail uses. The food truck is proposed in the front yard of the existing structure and placed on a paved parking pad. The applicant previously requested the food truck be allowed to remain on the site during non-operational hours, but has since amended the request, and the food truck will leave the site during non-operational hours. The existing building contains 1,150 square feet of floor area and will be used for commercial uses and services to include moneygrams, phone cards, cosmetics, shoes, and apparel, snacks, such as chips and ice cream and bulk food, canned food. The request includes the allowance of C1 neighborhood commercial district uses as allowable uses for the existing structure. The site plan indicates the placement of a paved parking area behind the building containing 5 parking spaces. A dumpster is no longer proposed to serve the site, and the applicant has indicated the trash will be removed from the site daily. The applicant indicates the days and hours of operation are 10 a.m. to 7 p.m., 7 days a week, with the exception of Friday evenings when the applicant will stay open till 9. The applicant previously requested additional hours but has since amended their hours to coincide with what staff was recommending. The plan includes the placement of a 6-foot screening fence around the proposed parking area. Also, the placement of a 4-foot fence within the front yard area to block the sidewalk, or at the back of the sidewalk, to direct foot traffic along the sidewalk and not cut across the front lawn. The site plan has been revised to indicate the placement of a 9-foot landscape strip along the eastern perimeter of the paved parking area and along the northern perimeter. The indicated landscape in these areas comply with both the landscape ordinance and the buffer ordinance requirements. The driveway located along Carly Drive has been relocated to the east near the eastern property line. The existing drive will be removed to allow paved surface to access the parking pad for the food truck, will result in a street buffer along Carly Drive near 3 feet. In this area, the applicant is requesting a franchise agreement with the city to allow plant materials to be placed within the street right-of-way. The applicant has indicated additional plantings will be provided within this area to help offset the lack of landscape space. Based on the applicant's revisions to the site plan and the agreement to paved surfaces proposed for parking of the vehicle and the food truck, and the applicant has reduced the hours of operation, staff is supportive of the request. Staff recommends approval of the request, subject to compliance with the comments and conditions as outlined in paragraphs D, E, and F of the agenda staff report.
Thank you, staff. We have the applicant here. Wish to approach the lectern, please. Come on up. We'll be to item 14. This is not item 14. Please state your name, and if you want to tell us a little bit about the application.
My name is Chelly, and I'm here with my sister-in-law. She's the applicant for La Fina Express on Gyre Springs. Pretty much, as Donna stated, the business actually is a locally owned and operated business. They're proposing to have a food truck parked outside. They also sell, of course, cosmetics, boots, hats, and they also provide MoneyGram services. Since the last time they had, of course, many things to be changed, so that for example, the parking lot and the curb appeal, so that way, it's not pretty much taking a toll on the neighborhood. In fact, helping out as far as the look, the appearance. Pretty much is where we stand right now, just to make it look better than anything else.
Okay. But just be on standby. We'll have some cards up against, and you might want to speak to that after you have enough time.
Sure.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. Stephen Mann.
Thank you for the opportunity. At the Southwest Ops meeting, when this was proposed to us, they was talking about running until 10 o'clock at night, moving everything to the front facing Gyre Springs. It's quite obvious they have made alterations to what they originally said. We are opposed to it because we're trying to keep as much of the mobile food trucks out of the area because it's like a plague. They're all over the place. It's too close to the residential areas there. Another lady has more information on that than I do, so I will step down and let her take over.
Yes, I have Mrs. Nell Johnson. Are you wish to speak after Rhonda Hancock?
Yes, I do. Please.
Okay. Rhonda.
Hi, I'm Rhonda Hancock, and I'm with the Upper Baseline Windermere Neighborhood Association, and I did not want to speak. I just wanted to submit the letter to you guys and have it read into record.
Okay. You're welcome to read it yourself, though, or I can share this with staff, however staff thinks this is best hand. If you'd like to read it into record. Oh, come on. Yeah.
Okay. A presentation was thorough that was given to the Southwest Ups. However, the members voted not to support. This letter is asking for denial and the reasons. The property is not large enough to handle all that's required of the applicant. Parking and landscaping is not sufficient. And note that the parking would be abutted to a lived-in family home. The requested hours of operation would be disturbing to the neighbors along Carlisle Drive. The driveway spacing would violate city ordinance and, if waived, would present a hazard upon entering and exiting Carlisle Geyer Springs. The entire front lawn has been covered with gravel, making it unattractive. We respectfully request your recommendation of denial for this application and request the applicant remove the food truck and gravel from the front lawn and replace with sod. Southwest Little Rock is beginning a revitalization of Geyer Springs and surrounding area within the coming year with the help of a development consultant group. Our planning strategy will be similar to SOMA in downtown Little Rock. Beautification along the corridor is vital to this revitalization, and this request doesn't fit within the scope. We do support our businesses and the new entrepreneurs in Southwest Little Rock, and the development consultant group will include them in the revitalization plans. Thank you.
Thank you, Rhonda.
This way, can I get that?
Go ahead and submit that to staff for their record. Thank you. Now, Mrs. Nell Johnson.
Yes, thank you very much for this opportunity. My name is Mrs. Nell Johnson. I want to add this. I think it's a wonderful thing for entrepreneurs to come into our city, into our area, our neighborhood. But I am concerned for our children. There is a school located in our area where our children pass along this particular area each day going to and from school. And you may not know, but a lot of our young children are more mature than what they are. Some of them look more mature than what they really are. Let me just cut to the chase. I'm a retired teacher, and I'm concerned about some of these looks that some of the young girls may get from some of the men. I'm just going to cut to the chase and just tell you. I'm concerned about that. I would like so much for our children to be protected, because sometimes we have a tendency to get a little bit of alcohol in our system. And sometimes when we do that, we may say some things that we should not say. And of course, we may do some things that we should not do. And with the hours being such as they are for this operation of this business, I'm a little concerned. I'm also concerned because of daylight hours. I know you may say, well, it's daylight. What could happen? A lot of times, things are said to children that we are not aware of. But children don't know how to handle these things. They go home sometime and misrepresent some things. Parents come back. They don't have all of the information. There we have a problem. We have worked hard to try to improve our neighborhood. We have worked hard for the past 5 or 6 years. I say 5 or 6 years because that's when I began attending the meetings. I would like to see the neighborhood continue to progress. I have nothing against entrepreneurs coming into our neighborhoods, but I'm concerned about this particular application. And for the protection of children, I would like to see this not occur. And I thank you so much for listening. I appreciate your.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. Would the applicant like to get up and add anything else to what's been said?
Just wanted to clarify, just a few things. I know, since the last time that we proposed or we submitted the application, there were several things that have changed. When consideration, of course, with the actual entrance to the parking, we'll have, of course, an entryway that would pretty much will yield to cars to, of course, make the right turns when needed. We don't serve alcohol. It is just a food truck that pretty much people come pick up their orders and take home. It's not so much of them being there, and it's not a form of a restaurant. So we don't have 20, 30 people at once. It's just maybe 5, 6, if any. So with that being said, it's pretty much a business that will have 5 to 6 customers at a time. The hours have changed since, of course, reduced 21 hours per week, 10 to 7 p.m., with the exception of Friday being at 9 p.m. That's pretty much the only change as far as that would pretty much reflect back to them, to their concerns. And the food truck will no longer be in front of the property. It'll be on this side. We will no longer have gravel. In fact, they're going to pour in concrete. We'll have landscaping on the lot.
In the front is going to be landscaping.
The front will be landscaping.
Our customers are mainly families.
And pretty much, as she stated, that pretty much the kind of customers that they generate is families. Children come in there, couples come in there. It's just not solidly men coming to visit the place for food.
Thank you. Commissioners, questions, comments? Yes. Oh.
Excuse me.
We have a question for you. Applicant, come up, please.
I wanted to ask, what all services are you going to provide there? You said food, MoneyGram services, and what additional services?
Well, in the inside of the building, we have MoneyGram services. We have phone cards. They also are able to pay the bills through the MoneyGram services. We have boots, work boots, and kids' boots, like cowboy boots.
And there'll be no seating outside that for anyone to sit down and eat. No seating at all.
No, we at the moment we have 2 benches, picnic tables. But it's just while they wait for their order. Mainly, they don't usually stay there for long times or anything. Just waiting for their order to be picked up.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Any other commissioners? Commissioner Leahy.
This is for the staff. Did the Brooks survey submit a corrected survey?
They did go back to Brooks survey and did get a revised site plan and survey.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The well, which one to call on, but Mr. Mann, if you were aware of these changes in hours, and would it make any difference in how they voted on it at neighborhood meeting?
Last meeting, the consensus was still the same as it was the first time that we met addressing the issue. We was not aware that they had made changes on their design and what have you before I come to the meeting today. There was no communication to Southwest Ops Group at all about this.
Was there anything brought up about having a MoneyGram machine inside this building?
No.
Thank you.
Okay.
Is that it?
All right. Thank you. Any other commissioners? Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move for the approval of items Item D, 74093A, I'd like to move for the approval, including all staff comments and conditions therein.
Okay. We just heard a motion to approve this item as written with staff recommendations. Do I hear a second for this motion?
Second.
Okay. You now have a motion for item D before you. For those that approve, raise your right hand or raise your hand. Did you get a count? And those who do not approve. Five to six, this item fails. Okay. All righty.
Get with me and I'll give you the next step.
We have one more item tonight, is item 14.
Item number 14, file number Z-9286, Rainwood Village, short form PDR, located at 12115 Rainwood Road. The applicant is requesting rezoning from R2 single family to planned development residential to allow the development of single family subdivision. The lots are proposed with an average size of 3,000 square feet. The development is proposed with 17 lots of owner-occupied attached housing. The site plan indicates 8 buildings of duplex-style homes and 1 building of a single residence. The units are proposed 1.5 to 2-story buildings with a maximum building height of 35 feet with attached garages. The buildings will be constructed in phases as they are sold. The subdivision is proposed with private streets. The street is proposed as a loop street extending south from Rainwood Road. The development will have a call keypad entrance located along the western intersection with Rainwood Road. The eastern location will have a gate remote exit only gate. The development is proposed with 24-foot wide streets with parking restricted to one side. The development will have a combination of metal and brick fencing along Rainwood. The plan indicates the placement of an 6 to 8 foot decorative metal fence with 8 to 10 foot brick columns and a 6 to 8 foot brick fence at the entry drives to the subdivision. The remainder of the subdivision will have a maximum fence height of 8 feet constructed of wood. The subdivision sign will be incorporated into the brick fence. The sign area will not exceed 24 square feet. The request does include a variance from the land alteration ordinance to allow grading of the lots with the installation of the basic infrastructure. The applicant has indicated to balance the site, advanced grading is necessary. Staff is supportive of the request. The applicant is proposing a single-family attached subdivision developed with private streets. Within this general area, there is a mixture of uses, including single-family, multifamily, and condominium housing. Staff feels the development of the subdivision as proposed is appropriate, and staff does recommend approval of the request, subject to compliance with the comments and conditions as outlined in paragraphs D, E, and F of the agenda staff report. Staff recommends approval of the variance request from the city's land alteration ordinance to allow grading of the lots with the installation of the basic infrastructure.
Thank you. Is the applicant here? You're welcome to speak to this application or wait to hear. We have just one card.
Chairman Barry, Commissioners, my name is Tim Daters with White Daters and Associates. With me is Robin Miller with RPM Realty Group. I think Ms. James did a really great job of explaining the development. It's a small 2.7 acre site. These will be single family homes. And Robin, do you want to go ahead and just describe a little bit your development rationale and what you've got planned?
Yes, it's very similar to Larry Crane's project out Highway 10 at the Ranch Villas. It's the same layout. We think it'll be great housing for the area, and we think it'll be a great project. We look forward to developing and also building out this project ourselves. RPM Group.
Okay. Also with us is Ernie Peters, if there's any questions that arise about traffic. And would like to reserve our time in case there's any questions.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Sherry, would you like to approach the lectern? And I'm sorry, I can't read your last name very well. Clawwitter. Sherry Clawwitter, okay.
Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak. I think I'm being run out of my neighborhood. And I'll give you my information. I have not been informed of this layout. I have not received any information of it other than from the son of the original owner of the property, telling me what they thought they were going to be able to do. I own 2.5 acres adjoining their property. I'm at 12023 Rainwood and have been there since I was born, except for 10 years when my husband and I went into the service. Right now, the traffic on Rainwood Road is horrible. There is a bus that goes up and down that street to the school up on Napa Valley, or Henson Road. There's condos across the street from me. There are 1, 2, 3 housing additions up in front and to the left of me. The traffic is horrendous. I was able recently to get a speed limit sign put at the top and the bottom of Rainwood Road because the cars were going 40 and 50 miles an hour up and down the street. This project is going to be, they say, these are going to be like duplexes. There are 2-family buildings, and that means if there are 6 of them, that's 12 families. That's also probably 24 vehicles. And if it's got a private gated gate, where are they going to pull over to get in that gate and allow traffic to get around them coming up and down Rainwood Road? There is only an exit and an entrance on Rainwood. There's no other way to get into that property. It's going to cause a real traffic jam. The noise level will be increased substantially with children and animals and the number of vehicles. I feel it's not safe. I have no information as to what they're going to do during the construction. Where will that traffic be parked? What will they be doing to the street, the right-of-way? Will that street be widened, that can be widened a little more? Would I then be forced then to pay for having mine widened? This has got a lot of problems to me.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Mr. Davis, would you like to get up and speak to any of the concerns, questions raised, please?
Thank you, Chairman Berry. The gate this is going to be a one-way street, and the gate, the people who live here will have remotes where they can open the gate as they approach it. There will be a keypad for people who cannot get in, who don't have those, but there's a sufficient room for a vehicle to sit and not block the sidewalk while they are waiting to have the gate open. But everybody who lives here will have a garage door type opener to open the gate. We will be widening Rainwood Road. We'll be widening it to a half of Collector Street and building a sidewalk. And our work in no way will force you to do any work on the adjacent property or anything. It's just the Boundary Street improvements in front of us.
If that were the case, I would be the only residents on the street to not have a sidewalk or a street widened.
That's correct. This will be the property that she owns is the only undeveloped segment then along Rainwood Road from Green Mountain over to Napa Valley. Ernie Peters did do a quick traffic analysis for us, and Ernie can hit that really quickly if I ask him to do that, if you're still there, Ernie. And I do think the city, I also saw a note where the city is going to install 2 more speed limit signs. Is that correct, Mike? Yeah, they've already installed, they're going to install 2 more speed limit signs on Rainwood. Ernie?
Thank you. Chairman Berry, I'm Ernie Peters, the Peters and Associates Engineers. We were asked by White Daters to conduct a traffic and speed study on Rainwood at this location. We did that just last week, and what we determined in measuring both eastbound and westbound vehicles that travel on this segment of Rainwood, that the total volume, when you combine the eastbound and westbound over a 24-hour period, is just over 2,100 vehicles per day. This is a collector street, and with that, it would be expected to have a service volume of less than 5,000 vehicles per day, which it does. We measured the speed both eastbound and westbound. The combined eastbound and westbound average speed was 34 miles per hour. We found that the AM peak period of traffic was 7 to 8 a.m. with 196 vehicles, and the PM peak hour was 3 to 4 p.m. with 272 vehicles. So the volumes are not excessive considering the classification. The speed is slightly above the posted speed of 30 miles per hour, averaging 34 for both directions. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
Thank you, Mr. Peters. Commissioners, questions, comments? No? Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I move for the approval of this item 14Z 9286, and all staff comments and conditions therein.
All right, we have a motion for this application as written with staff recommendations. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion that's been seconded. Those who approve this application, raise your hand. And those opposed? Okay, I've got a count there. 11. All right, that finishes out the regular agenda. We do have always time for citizen communication. If anyone wants to say anything, I do want to take the time to welcome our two new commissioners, Diana Thomas and Marlon Haynes. Welcome aboard, and looking forward to seeing you. And Happy New Year to everyone. This is our first meeting of the 2018 year, and thank you to staff as well. If not, we are adjourned.